Good morning, good afternoon and evening to everyone joining us today from across the world. It's a pleasure to have you be part of this Vynners community with us. We're recording a section of the event today, so a warm welcome to those of you who are watching this on demand at home as well. Today is the 6th installment of our Vynners community, and we have two champions from Severn, Trent sharing their insights with you today. My name is Shrey, the Senior Digital Marketing and Events Lead at Vyntelligence, and I'm just going to briefly introduce the event for you. While I do, please do comment your name, where you work, and where in the world you're from at the moment in the chat so that we can all get acquainted. Please also use this chat throughout the event to ask questions for our speakers or from the Vyn team. Where possible, we'll respond to these directly within the chat, else we'll pick these up in our Q&A session at the end. So, what do we have in store for you today? First, since this is our 6th session, I'm going to give a brief overview of the Vynners community, how it started, what it means, and why we're here. Then we'll jump straight into the exciting bit, the part that you're here for, the Vynning stories from Heather and Natalie from Severn, Trent, followed by Vineet from Vyntelligence, who will share some best practices and his top tips on smarter digitalization. Next, we'll summarize their top tips so you can see exactly how you can achieve smarter digitalization and harness the power of video data. Then you'll need to keep your phones handy because you're going to have the chance to exclusively try out Vyn SmartVideoNotes today. That's right, from your phone directly. By scanning a QR code, you can try out the technology. To finish off, our Senior Director for Product, Stuart, will give a quick update on some of the new features and developments that we've added since our last event. And then we'll have the chance for a Q&A with all of you. So what is the purpose of the Vynners community? So today's session is around smarter digitalization with video data. The purpose with which we started the Vynners community was initially to share knowledge and learnings with our community. Each customer, prospect, user, influencer, and team member is constantly learning and gaining insights on how technology is helping us excel digitalization with greater efficiency using video data. The Vynners community is the forum where we ask you, members of our community, to come together to learn, share, and succeed. Our first session was around building a first-time right culture, or right first time, depending on where you're at. Our second event was more specific and focused on building a sustainable health and safety culture. The third was around the ethos of commitment to digital disruption and the purpose with which we implement innovation. The fourth was around sharing specific learnings and from adopting technologies like Vyn, all the way from the initial insights that you've gained to the final actions that you made. Our last event was around scaling innovation, how others have done so, and some of the top tips that you could learn. So as you can see, each event is focused around the improvements and key learnings we can gain about the practical topics that are relevant to us all. And that's what it's all about. Our purpose from the start has been to help busy professionals simplify their work life through effectively applying innovation and seeing benefits from a visual, data-centric approach. And we're so lucky to have seen this firsthand. Our growing community now spans over 13 countries. And this community have all aligned to our core values here at Vyntelligence, a common purpose to simplify business operations, bring agility and efficiency at work, and embrace safety and sustainability at the core of everything we do every day at work. Simplicity, velocity, trust, and mutuality. Those are our core values, and we're really proud to say that we see them championed every day. So today we'd like to say a big thank you to each and every one of you that has joined us and others that haven't been able to. We sincerely celebrate the Vynners who have been with us on a journey of innovative and transformative business change to make everyday work simpler, safer, and faster. We've got a great session lined up for you today, and I hope you really enjoy it. Now I'll hand over to Ansel, who is going to take us through the Vynning stories with Severn, Trent.
All right, thank you, Shrey. So yeah, hello, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're in today. I am going to introduce Natalie Danks and Heather Hateley from Severn, Trent. Kind of passionate and close to my heart as Severn, Trent. I was previously there in my career a number of years ago, so I've come full circle to help bring the technology that we have at Vyntelligence back to Severn, Trent. And I will do a bit of a Q&A between the two of you. I think we've kind of worked out who might answer which question, but I'll throw the floor open and I'm sure we'll have a bit of dialogue. And Yeah, Heather, do you want to have a quick hello and introduction, your role, and then we'll do Natalie.
Yeah, cool. Hi guys. So I'm Heather Hateley. So I've worked for Severn Trent for 18 years, pretty much straight out of uni. So I look after our water network. So basically where we put water into a pipe to take it to customers' houses, look after all of our transformation improvements, but also look after water efficiency, getting customers to use less water. Nat?
Hi, I'm Natalie Danks, and I currently work for Heather as technically a project change analyst.
Fantastic. Thank you, Natalie. Right, let's kick off the questions with no further ado. So I guess there's always has to be a start to these things. So I guess, why did you start with us? What were your kind of reasons for applying Vyn, and kind of what was in the timing for you?
Yes, well, I'll take this one first. So kind of one of the challenges we've got is, of course, if you think about a water company, especially in the UK, we have to provide supply of water to all our customers. They get no choice who they go with. So, but we still got to live that customer experience. So one of our regulatory measures is around that customer satisfaction, but also based around the purpose of the company is we want to do the right thing by our customers. So we recognise, especially in the water space, in terms of where we work, we're not where we need to be. So on average, customers score us about just over a 7 out of 10 for customer satisfaction. And one of the things that they tell us they want is they want an easy, efficient service, the same as any general service industry. But specifically in water, when you compare us to the water companies, we're 14th out of 17 water companies. So we knew we need to do something different. One of the things we need to make sure we do is, one, make it easy for customers to report problems with their water or their waste. And secondly, make sure the one thing they tell us they really want to know is just keeping them informed. Okay, you might need to change things. That's fine. Just tell us. So it's kind of the two main reasons why we started chanting to Ansel and the guys to actually say, how can we make that customer journey easier and therefore kind of use video-enabled kind of journey for customers.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. So let's get into a bit more of the detail. So tell us a little bit about how you've implemented Vyn specifically at Severn Trent, and how's it working?
So that's me, isn't it? So it all started from what Heather said, that we just got a chat with Vyn, and so it was like, right, how can we utilize it in Severn Trent? So we arranged a session basically with numerous departments that we thought it would be beneficial to in Severn Trent. So we incorporated digital, our call center, inbound call people. Who else was on the call? We had Ansel and Vineet from the Vyn team come down, and we all sat in a room, and literally they explained what Vyn was. They gave us a good example. This is what it can do. And then we just literally, how can we utilize this in Severn Trent? So then we had everyone's different input, and it was really beneficial to, rather than do it, I'd say, over Teams or something, or over Zoom, because you got to see everybody, you got to know what they had to do in their role, as well as how we could utilize Vyn. So setting up that face-to-face initial briefing meeting was brilliant. It was really handy, especially that we had Ansel and Vineet there. If we did have any technical issues, they were there to just answer it rather than email back and forth. Once we figured out a route of where we wanted Vyn to go, we set up a specific team. So we have at the moment a virtual team that look into some of our inbound calls. So we utilize that team to actually pick up the Vyns. So at the moment, we get Vyns come from the customer, it goes into an email inbox, and then the virtual team pick them up from there. And then based on that, they can triage. At the moment, they are, let me look at my little notes, 25% of Vyns at the minute are being mitigated up front. So it saves a visit, so less travel. And actually the guys out on site, so the field techs actually have to go to the stuff that they need to go to, rather than the things that we can just sort quickly over the phone.
And how is that customer providing the information to you quite specifically? Where have you deployed it as your channel in? So
originally we started off with a very specific channel for it. We were just going damaged covers and broken assets, but then we quickly found that was it was too specific, and we weren't getting that many customer inbound issues for that. So it was like, right, how can we think of getting more customers to us? So it was like, well, why don't we just ask the customer what their problem was, and just literally what's very generic. So we did a 2-week trial back in, I want to say the start of March and end of Feb, and it went brilliantly. Our uptake was massive. We had loads of people just saying, well, basically anything. So what we've done is we've kept that going. So what we've done now is we've put a link to Vyn on our Severn Trent website front page, as well as in the contact us section of Severn Trent. And then what we've also done is within the website, there's a page for like wastes, different parts of like flooding and blockages and like a teaching piece. And we've also put numerous links in there. So depending on what the customer clicks on, for flooding, they'll still get a link to go towards Vyn.
Okay, so it's addressing that digital, I want a digital connection to my customer. Traditional model in a lot of places is report your problem, write it down. This is my problem, da, 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 da. Or sometimes it's you talked about the chat bots, and it's like, well, if it's answer this question, this question, this question, this question, then possibly then send us a video. But actually, the power of video is you don't need 6 questions, right? It's all there. Just ask them one question, show us the problem, and we'll work it out from there, right?
Yeah. Literally it is. So what we incorporate.
It was one of the big challenges we had to get through. So traditionally in our contact centre, they have set scripts they have to work through. We have those set key questions that they need to ask the customer, because we need to get all this information to make sure we can build the job right. It was a massive leap of faith to go, let's just ask the customer, what's your problem? Well, are we going to get all that info? And it did take a leap of faith to go, stick it on the website, just ask the customer. Perfect. Doesn't sound like science, but it took a leap of faith.
But it's a leap that's paid off.
It's working really well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of top tips that hopefully some of the team are grabbing there as well, talking about the workshop and the so on. But if we then move to the next bit of kind of how are you harnessing that power? We've kind of touched on the power of video. But what about the data and the benefits? You touched on the 25% mitigated site visits. Are you getting anything else, maybe in the waste side of things as well, in terms of flooding versus blockages?
Yeah, so because we're actually having to reviewing exactly what the customer is saying is an issue, we can then decide for us whether it's a high priority or a low priority, because to any customer, their problem is high priority to them, but not necessarily is that high priority to us, because we have other things in the pipeline. So just on that side itself is great, because we can actually categorize it to how it actually is. On the waste side, like you said, we're now correctly categorizing issues. So let me just look at the things. Originally, it was flooding and blockaging jobs. So it was 53% for flooding and 47% on blockages when the customer raised them themselves. Now that we can actually see the detail, it's actually reversed. And we're actually seeing the more intake upon blockages rather than the flooding.
So for those who don't know that in the industry, that's quite an important measure. Heather, do you want to kind of fill in the gap of kind of why?
So if you think about a customer, we provide your water to your door, but we also take your wastewater away. So if you think about you've got a toilet or you've got sewers, if you've got like dirty water coming out of the manhole and kind of flooding your garden, that's known as a flooding. If you've got it literally, it's just kind of bubbling off to the surface, that's a blockage. Now, we absolutely really want to get to our customers where it's a true flooding, and actually, in the nicest way, excuse my language, you've got shit in your living room or something like that. Sorry, kind of language to talk over is dirt. So we need to get to those customers as quick as you can. So as Nat said, both the priority, whether I've got a blockage, whether I've got flooding, we absolutely need to prioritise those customers who really have that flooding and get to them as quick as possible, especially if they've got young kids, that type of consequences. To a customer, both are seen as a flooding. You've got risk of flooding me. So that's where we've got our own language, as you can tell, a blockage versus flooding. Customers don't mind, but actually we'll get to one within, say, 4 hours and one within, say, 12 hours. So absolutely really means we can get our field resource to those customers that really, truly need it, both a priority, but we can really get that reactive resource to the ones far quicker. And even though it's small percent, where it's a slight difference, makes a big difference in terms of how we can manage that resource.
And that important point, Nat, how if you ask your customer what their priority is, or the derivation of certain questions leads to a priority that is actually incorrect, the power of video allows you just to triage it rightly. And I would imagine justify it to Ofwat and your regulators, say, well, if you ever want to question it, watch it for yourself.
Yeah, and that like helps us specifically with the 25% of VINs that we've managed to mitigate so far. If they were to go through a call center, you couldn't really describe that to an agent on the phone, say what it was. So the fact that we've managed to save a visit and save money traveling, especially with the price of fuel at the moment, is a big bonus to the company.
And help with that as well, because they get an answer quicker.
Yes, because managing customer expectation better, you actually recognize we can fix that problem, we can't fix that problem. That's a problem you need to fix yourself, rather than wait till Wednesday to find out you can't fix. Yes. Yeah. All right, perfect. So probably last one, any other top tips or watch outs that you'd like to give our audience, our global audience, from a practical perspective of deploying this sort of stuff? We've touched on a few, if you've got any more.
I really think probably the biggest one is get everyone in a room. Don't do it over Teams. I know it's a lot better now with COVID going down, and hopefully monkeypox doesn't do one. But just get in a room, because having that chat and get everyone's opinions and how it could work for this department and how we could link it into somebody else was vital. I don't think we'd have got very far if we didn't have that face to face.
And is it fair to say that there was some apprehension before that first meeting?
Definitely, yeah. Like, oh, we're going to bring in this new tech, and then everyone's like, oh my god, not another one. And then when you realize what it can do and the benefits we have, it's like, oh, okay. And this like just calms everyone down. It's like, oh, actually we could utilize this. And that's how now we've got, and it's gone from a small thing to
had some of our virtual contact center guys who triage the kind of FaceTime calls with customers, thinking actually you're going to reduce the amount of work we've got. No, actually we're putting it into your team, you're going to get more work, so actually your jobs are far more secure. So it kind of reversed their thinking around it, and they were far less resistant when they could actually see it in practice.
And anything just touching on that doing an asynchronous, we were kind of one-way call versus the live call, which you kind of kicked off with. Is there any learnings you're kind of between those two mediums, and what's actually at the right time?
Yeah, so a lot that we can't always. So if you think about your water, we get incidents, we get floodings, load of rain. We can't always man our contact centres to give that customer that immediate response. So there's sometimes actually a customer is comfortable doing a FaceTime call. Some customers aren't comfortable doing a FaceTime call. Actually, I'll just record a video and send it. I don't need to be on camera. I can record the issue. So depending on a customer's preference, sometimes they might be more comfortable recording a video. Sometimes they're more comfortable having a FaceTime call. But also when contact centres are really busy, when we get incidents and stuff, it gives that customer the opportunity to report it and not have to wait for that call back. So we still got the broader offering. You can still ring in. To us, it's about choice to our customers. So it just adds an extra offering onto it and gives that customer the choice that suits their individual needs.
Yeah. And any last points on kind of where next for other uses of the technology within Severn Trent?
So our water efficiency team, so like leaky loos type thing, they actually went live with Vyn last Wednesday, and they're focusing on, as a trial, 1,000 properties within a certain categorization. So far the uptake has been good. Then a few customers come back. We've also gone into the river ranges. So are we causing any pollutions to our rivers? Whether we can utilize Vyn in that aspect, as well as the waste side. And then we're also going to branch out into metering, and I forgot the other one.
Okay. So the other big one we're doing, so actually Nat needs to take credit for this, she's not forgotten this, both the customer ringing in and reporting issue, what we're actually getting is our field guys to actually record a video at the end of a job and actually send it to a customer, for example, if they can't be there or if they want the information documenting, so we can tell them what we did. Not all of our jobs are appointed, the customer doesn't need to be there. So it is a big change in culture, getting a lot of our long-standing field engineers to record a video of themselves. And actually, there are other industries that do it. I know sometimes you take your car for a service, sometimes you get a video. But for something like a water industry, to actually record a video and say, hi, customer, this is what I've done today, this is what's going to happen next, it's far easier to do it on a short video than, say, write notes on a calling card. So that's something we just ventured into, and Nat's just running as well.
And any just last bit in terms of the customer experience, have you got any insight on how they're finding Vyn as opposed to other channels? think you were asking them some questions to kind of draw that out of them.
Yeah, so at the end of, so when the customer goes into Vyn, at the end of when they've recorded their video, they've entered their personal details, we ask them like a little survey at the end of it. So like, how have you found this issue reporting service? And then it's like an excellent, good, very good. And then we're also going to ask the customer, would you use this route again? And then we've asked them some questions on how they found the application itself. So was it easy to navigate, easy to use? And then based on all that information, we've actually got a dashboard of information. So we can drill down into what the customers don't like. So if they want to make any improvements, there's a free text box to say what they would prefer or what they would make better. And then we can utilize that too.
What are the results so far in terms of kind of preference or kind of?
The majority of the customers that have put in an improvement for Vyn is an improvement on the process, not Vyn itself.
Okay.
So
and then
Vyn is happy days.
And Vyn itself is?
Yeah. They're just like, oh, I would like to know when my job's done, or I wouldn't like to wait a week to get it done. That sort of thing. So.
But as a medium, they're liking it. I mean,
yeah.
9 out of 10, 99%. What's the number?
I'd say 90% like it, to the 10% who just want to moan in general.
Okay. We'll take 9 out of 10.
The good news is we've got a good response rate. So I know working customer experience in the past, you don't get many customers fill in the survey. I think we've got like 30, 40, 50% of customers are actually filling out that survey. So they're obviously liking the tool because they're actually taking the time to fill out the survey as well, because they don't have to, which is a really good uptake rate when it comes to a satisfaction survey.
Fantastic. All right, Shrey, that's probably our time. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Heather. Great input, great feedback, top tips. I think I'm handing it to Marla next to take the reins.
Yeah, thank you, Ansel. And thank you, Heather, and thank you, Natalie. That was fantastic. Can you guys hear me? See me?
Yep.
Awesome. So thank you very much for taking the time to share your insights and share your experience. My name is Marla Morris. I'm Senior Vice President responsible for marketing. And I'm going to invite next Vineet, who's joining us from Prague, who's very kindly taken a little bit of time away from his holiday to answer a few questions. And he is VP Customer Success in Vyntelligence, and he's going to share a few insights based on loads of work that he's done with multiple clients. So Vineet, thank you very much. And thank you especially to your family for letting you do this on a holiday. Thank you for offering to share your experiences of deploying Vyn across multiple industries. Could you kind of give us a quick snapshot before I get into the questions itself of the industries, the use cases, and the countries where Vyn has been deployed in the last 18 months?
Sure. Thanks, Mala. It's always an hour out of the holidays, not a problem any day. So what Vyn does, it brings single source of truth with video as a data across all phases of project deployments, starts from pre-design to design to construction or build to operation and maintenance. So the customers that we have deployed are using Vyn solutions for customer engagements like Severn Trent we have just heard, remote supervision assurances, or safety and risk assessment. They are from all industries, I would say, at this point in time. Green energy, solar plants, wind farms, utilities, water, telecom, or constructions. We have deployed them in last 18 months from Philippines to Middle East, Africa, Europe, and to North America. So we have customers across industry, across user segments, across geographies, if that's, I can say, all around the world.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how long does it typically take to get the technology all ready to go in the hands of the user? And perhaps you could share this in the context of Severn Trent, but also in the context of other clients?
Sure. So it's easy and quick to deploy. You have already heard from Natalie. So it's simple to use and brings benefits and outcomes in normally 3 to 4 weeks from discovery to early outcomes. We have heard about Severn Trent, how we have done there. So we get involved at the concept stage of the project. So we speak to the business. We understand the problem statement, what outcomes that the project or the business is aiming for. We crystallize those problem statements and then align which of the 3 Vyn solutions apply to solve that business problem or the problem statement. We work with both business owners and the operational teams to understand not only business outcomes, but what operational outcomes they want to get to. And then existing processes, what are the pain points at each point on those processes. So Severn Trent, Natalie very clear, wonderfully pointed out, we had an excellent journey with Severn Trent. They're one of the ideal ones, I would say. We had a good clarity right from the start about the problem statement, that it's a customer complaints area where we have to work with. We knew that the Vyn customer engagement solution is going to make impact there. So credit to Natalie, Heather, that they ensured that all stakeholders all are identified very early in the journey. And they were present in the workshop in the room that Natalie talked about. We had contact center there, we have IT teams, DSTs, virtual DSTs, web and portal team, everybody. And they were keen to understand how Vyn can make an impact in their process and how Vyn can make their life simpler. So we looked at their current processes, we looked at how Vyn will work with will embed into the current processes to make video as a single source of truth across the teams. That's the best way to approach. And we have looked at the same approach with different customers, some virtually because of last 2 years, everybody knows that we were not allowed to travel. And in some cases, we sent like Severn Trent where we could go in there and do these workshops. The idea is to identify the stakeholders, crystallize the problem, and understand the business outcomes early in the process.
Thanks, Vineet. And I hear you say that it's, realizing benefits is kind of a 4-week process. So tell us a little bit about, the process of deploying Vyn solutions. And you also mentioned who were involved in the case of Severn Trent. Are there any kind of instances which you would call as gold standard or best practice? And do you have some kind of a conceptual framework where you look at 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, or something that's easy for people to take away, that, hey, these are the 4 steps that we must think about, or 2 steps or 3 steps? Can you kind of structure the thinking and share with the audience what the process has been?
Indeed. So this is a slightly longer answer than anyone, because we have deployed across multiple customers across the board we just talked about. So you have to be patient hearing the answers. So realizing Vyn benefits is a 4-week, 4-phase approach, I would say, to achieve the benefits out of it. The phase 1 or the week 1 starts with defining the problem and aligning the Vyn solution to it. Here we understand what are the business pain points are. There can be multiple pain points across the business or a similar pain point across different business area for a customer. The key at this stage is look at them, each one of them critically, and analyze which one of them is big enough to be solved to make an immediate impact. So some examples where I would say to look at would be customer satisfaction scores like CSATs, NPS, CMAX, and DMAX in case of water industry. Is that what is impacting business? Or is it the repeat visits to fix the problem? So where crew are going again and again to single site or multiple site to solve the similar problem. Is it a project impact, time, cost, quality? Is it a revenue leak? Are there any health and safety incidents that they want to solve through Vyn? So in this phase, we get a really good view of micro or a macro view of the problem and where to start with. So that gives us a good idea to move into the second phase of, or the second week of the Vyn journey. The phase 2 is what we call as a ramp up phase, where we do discovery and process reimagination. So remember, at the end of the phase 1, we know that there are different problems to be solved, different business areas. So the first step we do in phase 2 is to do an impact versus benefit versus deployment velocity analysis to know which area to start with, whether it's a customer complaint like the example we had in Severn Trent to start with. And then once we get to a single area or the area where we start with, then we start identifying who are the all stakeholders in that area, who would be impacted. What is the existing processes? What would be the new processes would be like? So think about the customers, the users, the end users. Think about the field teams who need to provide or who need to consume the contextual information coming out. So for example, one of the UK DNOs, the contextual information or the videos from the field help them to achieve zero bots for the crews when going out to the field to do new customer connections. Think about supervisor auditors who need field analytics to do more with less. They can do smart deployments. A telco in UK who uses Vyn for remote assurance purposes, they have increased the number of deployments by 140% with the same number of remote auditors. Think about management who requires trends using smart analytics on the video data to make long-term decisions. Think about IT, CRM, web, contact center teams. So my top suggestions in this phase where we are doing discovery and process reimagination is avoid changing like for like. Remember, we are introducing Vyn here. We have video as a data. So if you are changing like for like, then you are not changing to new ways of working. So that's the phase 2 for you. And the phase 3 is build and deploy. So here we build fast, we build simple. We follow iterative approach. The teams build, test, put it hands of the champion users, and then get early feedback and reiterate, tweak it and go live quickly. And we go through the full data journey right from building, testing, deploying, and then looking at the field data to tweak it again. Remember, in this phase, you have to analyze the data and early outcomes for further refinement. Severn, Trent, Natalie just talked about. We made tweak to the processes within the 2 weeks or 3 weeks of deployment. And we added the Vyn links to the website, moved to different areas, and the usage has tremendously increased. I think more than doubled, if I'm right. Natalie just confirmed that as well. And the last phase is scale up. In the scale up phase, we not only continue on monitoring and analyzing what we have deployed, but we also look at the other business problems that we looked at in the first phase and then start replicating the success. So in this phase, always remember to look at the user behaviors, both internal and external. Gain feedback to make changes if needed. Analyze and improve through that feedback as well as you move to the other business area. Keep eyes on dashboards for smart analytic and nudges, and pick up other business areas and repeat your success. So that would be my 4-week, 4-phase approach to deploy Vyn.
Yes, so that's quite a lot to take in. So from what I can remember is the first one is all about defining the problem. The second one is about the ramp up phase. The third is around, have I got it right? Yeah, the second phase is ramp up, and the third phase is about building and testing and deploying. And the final phase is about scale up, all done within 4 weeks. Is what I understand. Fantastic. So I'm conscious of time. So I'm just going to ask you finally, what are your top tips, that you would want to share with the team over here, with the audience here, so that I can move on to the next part of this event?
So my top tips based on my experience in deploying Vyn across the customers would be is identify and define the business problem. Define a starting point by doing problem impact versus benefit versus deployment velocity analysis. Remember, it's a new way of working. This is a change. So be prepared to handle objection. So video as a new single source of truth across the team is not something that people are used to do. Identify the impacted stakeholders early and involve them to get through those objections. Start simple, deploy fast, and tweak if necessary. Basically, follow agile approach and use smart analytics for continuous improvement.
Thank you so much. That was quite a lot to take in. I'm sure, we're all listening very carefully and we can kind of, take 1 or 2 nuggets away. I'm going to quickly share my screen now and to bring to all of you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Excellent. So thank you very much, Natalie, Heather, Vineet, Ansel, Shrey so far. And let me just quickly wrap up and talk about the top tips from our star winners before I hand over to Stuart. What Natalie and Heather shared with us is make sure that, you find out which departments are required in the process and set up a face-to-face meeting to discuss. be aware that it's not going to be perfect when you're first going live. It's work in progress. You can take an iterative approach and keep tweaking it. And this is what I love. The last one is what I love. Use the Vyn team to help you with different ideas of what Vyn can and can't do. And what did Vineet tell us is define the business problem. Make sure you're doing a three-way analysis. I love that when there is this little, three-way analysis of problem impact, benefit versus deployment velocity. Remember that, the reimagined process with video is a single source of truth. Make sure you identify the right stakeholders and involve them early. Be ready to handle objections, as it is a change for many. And one other thing that I picked up was that, remember that moving to Vyn, don't do a like-for-like change. It is about simplifying. It is about using video as data. And start simple, deploy and tweak if necessary, and use smart analytics for continuous improvements. So from here, what I'd like to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to request Stuart to take over. He is going to get you to try the technology. And so I hope all of you have your phones ready, and we help you experience the technology, and also some interesting inputs from Stuart. Stuart, over to you.
Marla, it would be better if you could share the deck just to show the QR code.
Okay, let me do that.
So just for everybody, the easiest, it's much easier to let people play with things, I find. But then I would say that because I'm product. So what we want you to do, and this is an experience that a customer could have. So we often use the QR code as a really good way of getting a customer off a website onto the mobile phone, which is obviously Vyn's native home. So if you can all get out your phones, if you're not using for Zoom, and scan this, it will take you into exactly what a customer would see. So if you can all record, so I don't get loads of silent videos and lots of video of keyboards. If you can scan this and just do a short video of the most interesting thing you can see within your office or wherever you are, and just quickly fill in the form and submit it, and you'll get a sense of how Vyn works, and I'll show you how you would remotely triage that at our end. Don't be shy. So what happens there is while you're doing those videos, as you submit them, so this works asynchronously, but as you submit them, what will happen is Vyn will be processing that. So we listen to your speech. We have custom models depending on the use case, so we can detect things specific to, utility problems like water leaks or health and safety problems. We run through specific AI computer vision models. So we're looking for barriers, we're looking for PPE compliance. So we're using it to kind of detect incidents and issues. At least one person, two people have complied. So congratulations. So I'm going to use Ansel's because I imagine he's just filmed one of his plants. So you can see that's come through within a few minutes. So you could have a customer 100, 1,000 miles away, and inside of a minute, that issue's been reported back to a central contact center. And as a user, I can now see what Ansel has recorded. Now the audio may not work here, so just bear with me.
So I've got an intermittent problem on the manhole. It does seem to flood whenever there's heavy rain. It's not showing it now. There's still some water on the top, but yeah, I'm not quite sure what the problem is and would like to be looked into.
Okay, so obviously he didn't get out of his chair to record that when he's leant out of the window, but it's fine. But what you can see there is I am able very quickly with digitalizing ears to work out whether or not this is a priority. Clearly it's not flooding. So, I can potentially deprioritize that and use my field team effectively. So I'm not going to send him an engineer. Tough. Now, if a follow-up visit was required, I could mark that. I could determine what to do. but you can see that I'm able to see very quickly what's come through. Now, if there was something in the video I didn't like the look of, then I'm able to add a comment and comment to say, actually, you know, we don't need send an emergency crew. And this is really important because obviously, particularly in regulated utilities, you know, these things are on timers. Whether it's a suspected gas incident or a suspected flooding or blockage incident, you know, those SLAs and those timings matter. So being able to identify the right priority makes much more efficient use of the field teams that you do have to send. And, you know, although in Severn Trent's case, they were able to knock out 25% of those visits, it's also important that for the other 75 where you do need to go to site, what the videos allow you to see is they allow you to see if it's on the public highway, if there are cables or other things out overhead that would prevent you from being able to do that job, so that when you do turn up, you're able to turn up with the right equipment. So again, it's not just about avoiding those first visits, it also enables you to do it right first time. So again, when you're thinking about customer satisfaction scores, just general cost to serve and wasted carbon miles, it's the value of having that video that really drives through. I'll pick somebody else just because. I'm going to use Ansels. Okay, so somebody was videoing from a parked car. One of the value of Vyn as well is you're able to kind of test compliance. So I saw a wing mirror, but the vehicle's not moving. So whoever that was, well done. Nice and safety compliant. So again, joking aside, it shows you that if it was just a photograph, you don't get the scene, you don't see the wider context of what else is going on. And also, you know, a customer may be focusing on their issue, or an engineer reporting a problem with their hardware equipment. They may be so obsessed with or concentrating on the fact that, you know, the clamps for the machinery haven't opened, that when they're videoing the issue, there may be something else in shot that they're not looking at. There may be a disconnected hose or some other kind of equipment that an expert can remotely see and understand. And the crux of what we're trying to do with Vyn is give you that kind of, it perches you on the customer's shoulder so that you can see what they see and help them. Which brings me into one of the things we're doing next in terms of additional features and how we're building on this kind of video, this video capability. So I'm conscious of time, but I'll cover two things. So Heather talked a little bit about using FaceTime sometimes to contact customers. And one of the things that we've been building is, you know, Vyn works with asynchronous. You know, our primary focus is asynchronous for all the reasons we said, which is a customer is able to do it at their own time. It eliminates call waiting for the customer. They don't have to wait to speak to an agent. It enables for non-urgent issues, effectively a 24/7 customer reporting capability for you to pick up, you know, at a time that works for you. But increasingly, there are scenarios where live assistance is required. Now, one of the values of using video as data is that Vyn records that data. So we're able to use that to build AI models. We're able to use that for evidence of competence. So if things have gone wrong, or if you need to understand what failed on a particular task, you can go back and you can build that rich history of capability. So the feature we're launching within the next 4 weeks is a live assistance. So this is an extension of guiding a customer on through an issue, but rather than just a FaceTime, what we're actually doing with this is we're enabling an agent. So you'll see here we're building a new kind of agent inbox to allow this to be fast, because if the customer has come through to you, then we need to make this switch very quickly. So you can trigger a live call to a customer, and this is a live demo. So children, animals, and technology. So do bear with me. what we can do is we can send a live call trigger to a customer, and you'll see on my mobile phone that I have been sent a text saying join this live session. Now, what this does is, unlike FaceTime, I'm actually just hijacking the customer's camera. So this is now what the customer can see. So this is what the customer's camera sees. And what I can do as the contact center agent demos, typical. What I'm actually able to do as a contact center agent, although typically I'm not able to show you on the demo, is that would actually launch through and enable me to guest onto the customer's phone. So I can then direct the customer exactly what to do to resolve that issue. Now, what that enables them to do is, rather than just talking through the issue, I'm able to ghost a pointer onto their screen, so I can point at something on the screen. So if I wanted to tell the customer how to resolve something, I can actually talk them through it. So, typical use case might be if the customer doesn't know how to isolate their stopcock, or, again, it might be that they're not entirely sure how to reset a piece of machinery. But what that enables them to do is, again, resolve it without sending that site visit. So what we're constantly trying to do is finding ways of virtually putting the agent next to the customer to resolve those challenges. And the other thing that we've built as well, and I think this goes to something that Natalie was talking about, is we enable a customer to report any issue that they like. It works quite well with the generic contact, but sometimes you'll need to respond to that customer. And what we're able to do now, the feature that you'll be seeing soon, is a contact center agent or an asset manager, somebody that has planned work. What you're able to do now is create a link, and these guided storyboards, these are use cases we can send to customers, to engineers. So I might ask somebody to be doing a pre-site survey for an EV charger, or a new gas connection. I can simply select the storyboard and I can send this to one or many customers. And that customer will receive an email or text. If it's an engineer, they'll get a notification in the app or an email, and that instructs them to carry out a certain survey. And then I can track whether they've done that. So I've sent a request for a new gas connection. I'm going to show you one I did earlier. And then when they've been done, you can see that they come in. So I can see that this customer has responded and they've created a Vyn, and now I can watch that. So when we're thinking about tracking case management, asking customers to do surveys before we go to site, we're able to view those Vyns. I've muted the audio, but you're able to view those Vyns and really case manage it. And because these are quite structured, it's possible to send specific storyboards for specific use cases. So, if a customer's asking for a new gas connection, we can send them that. If after the first triage of the Vyn, we need additional information, we can also send them a slightly different storyboard. And it's really about giving the agents and the asset managers the ability to be dynamic in what they send customers.
Stuart, I'm conscious of time, so if you can wrap up in the next minute or so.
Yep. And the last thing I wanted to show you, which again is an enhancement on video enablement, which is really about how we also use the AI to drive improvements in safety and behaviours. So, because we have the rich video data, we're able to build safety models. And again, whereas we've talked about the benefits for the customer, the other benefit is to people in the field. And again, it's if you were watching a team work on a site survey and they were working at height, for example, what we're now doing is our AI technology can detect, for example, this video, where we can detect, and this is a sample, where we can detect there that from the speech and from the video that these engineers are working at height, we're able to label this, but more than this, so we can detect it's working at height. The engineer that recorded this VIN in the first place will start to automatically get notifications just to give them coaching. So where we're working at height, they'll get a notification to the app inside 60 seconds of submitting it that will ask them an additional safety prompt. So if you're working at height, how is your coworker present? And they're very, very quickly able to mark that as resolved, or if not, they can write up their remedial action. So everything we're doing is about making it really simple. So making it simple for the operatives to be safe in the field, making it simple for customers to report their issues with video, and making it simple for the contact agents when a customer does come through directly to be able to resolve that issue either through a live video or through sending them a relevant storyboard to guide them through the resolutions. And I'll stop there, Marla.
Yeah, thank you so much, Stuart. And that was brilliant. I can see between all the speakers today, the focus has been really around speed, simplicity, and a big focus on outcomes. So I will just segue to a couple of questions that have come through privately to me. The first one is to you, Vineet. What is, how do you make sure your teams are always keeping client outcomes front and center in all that they do? You will need to unmute yourself.
Okay. All right. Done it now. Okay. So interesting first question to me. Okay. So Vyn team actually work on a mantra of speed, simplicity, and outcomes. So they look at the data insights all the time that is coming out. So we have dashboards, we have smart analytics, but the team themselves look at the data as well. They stay focused on the business and the operational outcomes and the problems that we set out to achieve. And then they're quick to go back to customer and suggest any tweaks to increase either the adoption, as in the case we heard from Severn, Trent, or something else to make it to make sure that the business problems that we are attacking is being addressed in the data. So I would say the smart analytics that come on top of the dashboards makes the life of the Vyn team easier to spot the trends in the data and then come back and suggest any tweaks or anything that is needed.
Thanks.
So technology makes it possible
just kind
for us.
of segueing on to what you've just shared, there's a question here for Heather. Heather, what was how did you kind of get your teams and your wider teams think about the kind of outcomes that you were looking to drive with the technology like Vyn? Was it simple to make the change, or were there some secret tips that you have that you would like to share in terms of how you embedded change within the wider teams? Because especially, for example, the web and the portal, where it's, a digital flow where you have avoided so many calls to the contact center, yet you've improved customer experience. How did you go about that? Are there any tips that you would share? You need to unmute, Heather.
Thank you. Sorry, I needed unmuting, can't do it myself. Yeah, so in honesty, one of the biggest helps was actually my manager. So he's one of our general managers, strategic leaders, and actually just him having the impetus behind this, like broke down a load of barriers. So, Nat and I had a catch up with him only just a couple of weeks ago, and kind of just drip feeding him and actually just going like, here's the art of the possible, and just drip feeding him and almost getting him to help sway. So we work in the nice way, the pipe side of the business. We're a different area of the business to those that actually take the customer contacts. So we, as we said earlier, some of it's about involving people and kind of influential people down on the ground and getting them influencing. But actually, one of the big things was getting my manager brought in and getting him to help break down some of those barriers and have some of those conversations higher up. Some of it's about getting those quick wins and almost just going, actually, let's just try something small. There is always a fear out there that actually you won't be able to cope with what's going to come in. As Nat said earlier, we started really small. We did one type of contact on one channel, on one hidden, kind of partly hidden bit of the website, proved the concept in there, and then gradually got bigger and bigger. So it's kind of pick, as Vineet said earlier, pick something small to go after and almost prove that, and then you can kind of scale up. Was kind of the best way of doing it. And we are lucky, our digital team are kind of up for these sorts of challenges. So Nat kindly tapped into areas of the business where there is already energy around it, and we use those stories. Our waste team certainly weren't bought in to begin with, but they've seen the benefit we've seen on water. So now Nat and I have the joy of, we look after the whole of the business, not just in our department. So it's kind of grown legs.
Brilliant. So which means what you're saying is start small and find people who have the energy, and then keep your manager in the loop so that he or she can influence wider people around. And I know Natalie had a question for Stuart. So it was around, are these live videos stored? Stuart, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, so the live videos are stored, and that means that the capabilities of a standard Vyn is also supported. So you'll be able to comment on them, record them, and learn. We're conscious that live video brings separate challenges. So we've also got AI models that are coming to do face blurring as well. So if a customer does appear in a video that they don't want to, we can also manage that.
Thanks, Stuart. So I'm conscious we just have a couple of minutes more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and do the final bits. Which is around all customers and prospects here and the call are entitled to a free 2-week trial offer. What you get is out of the box storyboards, and you will also be able to remotely review the field data captured, and experience the enhanced visibility and the collaborative working using our supervisory console. And so that it makes it much easier for you to, do handovers and track actions and next steps. And what the free 2-week trial will also give you is predefined statistical dashboards. So if you'd like to know more and if you'd like to activate this, and this is available till the end of June, but if you do it within the next 2 weeks, that would be highly appreciated. And do contact hello@Vyntelligence.com, or if you know any of us from Vyntelligence who are on the call, your customer service, your customer success contact or your sales contact, feel free to drop them an email as well. So it is about contacting hello@Vyntelligence.com. Finally is our next masterclass is going to be on the 12th of July, just 6 weeks away. If any of you have a winning experience to share, and if there is a topic that you would like us to cover, please do drop us a note at hello@Vyntelligence.com. Otherwise, watch this space, and thank you for being here with us, and enjoy your day wherever you are.